Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Cairo Local Time with me, Al Hamalawi, the program that gives you a window of what's going on here in Egypt, the latest local events, whether political, economic, social or cultural. Stay tuned, I'll be right back with the latest local news. Welcome back. A leading British travel group announced that demand for holidays in Egypt is picking up again after unrest in the North African nation had pushed holidaymakers into choosing rival sunspots. The group said that the improvement, along with especially strong demand for bookings to Greece, is helping to offset persistent weakness for holidays in Turkey, which last year suffered an attempted coup and deadly bombings. The update came as the group announced flat revenues and losses for the first quarter or 3 months to the end of December. Continued reductions in booking to Turkey have been more than offset by strong demand for Greece, the company said of its holidays for summer 2017. They said, "We have also grown bookings significantly to a number of smaller European destinations, including Cyprus, Bulgaria, Croatia, and Portugal, and we have seen a strengthening of demand for Egypt and Morocco." And for more details on this very important event, we have this special report.
A leading British travel group announced that demand for holidays in Egypt is picking up again after unrest in the North African nation had pushed holidaymakers into choosing rival sunspots. The group said that the improvement, along with especially strong demand for bookings to Greece, is helping to offset persistent weakness for holidays in Turkey, which last year suffered an attempted coup and deadly bombings. The group, along with the other UK travel groups, airlines, last year cancelled flights to the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. The update came as the group announced the revenues and losses for its first quarter or 3 months to the end of December. Continuing reductions in bookings to Turkey have been more than offset by strong demand for Greece, the company said of its holidays for summer 2017. It added also that they have also grown bookings significantly to a number of the smaller European destinations, including Cyprus, Bulgaria, Croatia, and Portugal, and they have seen a strengthening of demand for Egypt and Morocco.
Egypt's new administrative capital annulled its agreement with the China State Construction Engineering Corporation, known as CSCEC, to build and finance the ministerial district of the new capital and tasked Egyptian contracting companies to carry out the project instead. Ayman Ismail, chairperson of the new administrative capital for urban development, said in a statement earlier this week. The two parties didn't reach a mutually satisfactory agreement in respect to the price per meter of implementing the project. The Chinese company wanted to depend on local Egyptian construction companies, which would have been more costly for us, according to Ismail. An Egyptian shareholder company has been tasked with building the new administrative capital since May 2016. We have more details in this report.
Egypt's new administrative capital, which is a large-scale project announced by Egyptian Housing Ministry at the Egyptian Economic Development Conference on 13 of March 2015. It is located 45 kilometers east of the Cairo and just outside the second Greater Cairo Road in a currently larger, undeveloped area, halfway to the seaport of Suez City. Earlier this week, it will had been funded by the Chinese state-owned developers after two companies agreed to invest. It annulled its agreement with the China State Construction Engineering Corporation to build and finance the ministerial district of the new capital, and tasked the Egyptian contracting companies to carry out the project instead of them. This came as Ayman Ismail, chairperson of the new administrative capital for urban development, said in a statement that the two parties did not reach a mutual satisfactory agreement in respect to the price per meter of implementing the project. The Chinese company wanted to depend on local Egyptian construction companies, which would have been more costly for us. Ismail said also in a statement that an Egyptian sharehold company has been tasked with the building the new administrative capital since May 2016. The Egyptian company is now taking the lead in the required works of the new administrative capital, carrying out a total of more than 2 billion Egyptian pounds worth of construction. The company is currently carrying out the construction of 78 residential buildings over 2 phases, in addition to the main utilities network in the government district, including water and sanitation lines and roads. The implementation rate of work in the capital city exceeds 60%. Implementing this project with the Egyptian hands is a boost to Egyptian companies operating by providing job opportunities and saving the country from spending its much needed hard currency.
American-Egyptian film team announced today that it will be producing a feature-length film in Egypt, The Chosen Guard. Combining an American production team with an Egyptian cast and crew, the film will include martial arts, large dance numbers, car chases, a wedding, and lots of action. Shooting will be in April 2017 in both Arabic and English for world distribution. The film stars Yusuf Mansour, Egyptian actor and martial arts professional. In addition to writing and starring in the film, Yusuf Mansour will also co-direct with American Courtney Miller, an award-winning writer, director, and choreographer whose credits include Michael Jackson, Beyoncé, Usher, and Britney Spears. The Chosen Guard is a modern-day story about a man who is chosen by the ancient pharaohs to defend the Golden Temple, the last unopened relic in Egyptian antiquity. The writer and producers intend that the film will showcase the attractiveness of Egypt with its hospitable and lovely people in a way that invites all audiences to come and experience this wonderful country for themselves. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a short break, then we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a look at the latest regarding the military operations here in Egypt with our military magazine.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi attended on Thursday the 24th Educational Symposium organized by the Armed Forces Moral Affairs Administration entitled Confronting Terrorism, A Nation's Will on Al-Gala Theatre. Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, a number of ministers, the Parliament Speaker, leading commanders of the armed forces, police, and a group of writers, journalists, and media professionals, university students, and students of military academies attended this symposium. During the seminar, the President has watched a documentary entitled A War of Existence on the state's efforts to combat terrorism. The armed forces honored a number of martyrs' names and praised their efforts to protect the nation's soil.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Tourism plays a major role in the economy of Egypt, and it has been hard hit since 2011. But there are continuous efforts to restore this very vital sector. And one of the good news, other than the one we mentioned earlier in this episode of Cairo Local Time, is that there are new archaeological discoveries in Luxor, and perhaps this would be a major attraction for visitors to come and visit the great city of Luxor. Let's take a look at more details in this report.
Mahmoud Afifi, the head of the Antiquities Ministry Ancient Egyptian Department, said that a Japanese mission from Waseda University discovered a private tomb in Tibetan necropolises in Luxor. Afifi says that the tomb located at the Khoja area on the west bank of the Nile is beautifully decorated and likely dates to the Ramses period based on its style. Early inspection of the tomb suggests that it belonged to a royal scribe named Khonsu. Jiro Kondo, the head of the Japanese mission, said that the tomb was discovered while excavators were cleaning the area to the east of the forecourt of the tomb of Ushurhat, a high official under King Amenemhotep III. He added that the team also stumbled upon a hole hewn connected to the south wall of the transverse hole of the previously unknown tomb of Khonsu. The tomb is built on a T shape on an east-west axis, with the main entrance currently covered in debris facing the east. The tomb measures approximately 4.6 meters in length from the entrance to the near wall of the inner chamber, while the transverse hole measures approximately 5.5 meters in width. Kondo explained that on the north wall of the entrance doorway, a scene shows the solar boat of the god Ra-Atum being worshipped by 4 baboons in a pose of adoration. On the adjacent wall, the texts are inscribed vertically, describing Khonsu as a true renowned scribe. On the southern part of the eastern wall in the transverse hall, Khonsu and his wife worship the gods Osiris and Isis in a kosh, behind which is the depiction of the 2 ram-headed deity, likely Khun and Khun Ra. Minister of Antiquities Khaled Al-Anaini and Bishop Julius of the Old Cairo Churches inaugurated an archaeological exhibition at the Coptic Museum titled Egypt Martyrs. The exhibition pays homage to Egyptian martyrs across the span of the country's history, with a focus on Copts who were killed during the period of religious persecution by the Romans in the early Christian era, as well as Egyptian, whether Christian or Muslims, killed in terrorist attacks in recent years. The exhibition spans up until the most recent deadly sectarian attack against Christians in December 2016 at the St. Peter and St. Paul churches in Cairo, which killed 28 Copts. Ahmed El-Nemr, the Supervisor General of the Coptic Antiquities Department, said that the exhibition put on the show 10 artifacts carefully selected from the museum's treasured collection and banners displaying martyrs. He pointed out that the artifacts include 3 icons, a relief, a copy of Sennacher, a book commemorating the life of Coptic saints, as well as glass and clay oil chandeliers.
Fashion designers are known for their edgy and creative designs, and Egyptian fashion designer Mohannad Kojak is no exception. From his Cairo studio, the 22-year-old is preparing to unveil his new 90s-inspired spring-summer collection next month. He describes himself as a self-taught designer who uses his own personal experiences as inspiration for his work. He was the youngest participant in the fashion TV show that offers emerging designers a platform to launch their careers. Among the show judges was Lebanese designer Elie Saab, whose dazzling designs are a favorite amongst A-list celebrities. In his new ready-to-wear collection, the young designer says he's created garments that reflect failing love stories and relationships. Driving on Cairo's busy and gridlocked streets can be a challenging task, and many women feel discouraged from learning to drive in the Egyptian capital. But a female-only driving school is hoping to encourage more women to get behind the wheel and even under the car bonnet. At Nairouz Talat's driving school, Direcciona, all the driving instructions are women and lessons are offered to women only. The school also provides lessons in car maintenance, from how to check water levels and change oil to road safety and changing a tire. One of the school students, Noura Fahmi, said she was more comfortable learning to drive with a female instructor. Talat aims to turn her students into confident and safe drivers, whilst also to reassure families that they are in safe hands.
هنا القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة. القاهرة القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة.
هنا القاهرة وحبيبي أنا ده منين ما يروح بيكون جنبي.
هنا القاهرة. هنا القاهرة.
عيني على أهل كايرو نبط ابنها من يسايرو، الكل عامل مثالي ونسلم في بعض عاير.
هنا القاهرة الساحرة آسرة الهادرة الساهرة السافرة السافرة.
لك حبيبي حبك وتحب تهديه بهدية، هاتوا مصر الحليوة يقول لك دي صحيح هي أم الدنيا.
هنا القاهرة.
القاهرة ونيلنا وكلنا وأغانينا ومواويلنا وحكاوينا يا جمالنا. القاهرة تجيلنا تحن لنا. Take me back to Cairo, beside the river Nile. My heart belongs to Cairo, oh Cairo, where I have found my smile.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Now, a couple of years ago, Egypt started a plan for distributing a drug for treating hepatitis C virus known as HCV. The plan involved creating a database for patients in order to offer them future treatment strategies and also employing the latest treatment methods in hospitals. Now, patients could register on a government website to receive the drug at their nearest medical center, And on the 20th of September back in 2014, the ministry said that over 171,000 people had registered to receive the drug. Egypt used to have the highest rate of hepatitis C in the world, and infection spiked from 4% back in 1993 to 8.5% in 2005. And the total estimated number of Egyptians infected stood at around 12 million at the beginning of the national campaign to combat HCV. Of course, a very big number. We have more details in this report, and then we'll be right back to discuss further the issue with our guest here in the studio. Stay tuned.
A plan for distributing a drug for treating hepatitis C virus, HCV. The plan involved creating a database of patients in order to offer them future treatment strategies and employing the latest treatment methods in the hospitals. Patients could register on a government website to receive the drug at their nearest medical center. On 20 September 2014, the ministry said over 171,000 people had registered to receive the drug. Egypt used to have the highest rate of hepatitis C in the world. Infections spiked from 4% in 1993 to 8.5% in 2005. The total estimated number of Egyptians infected stood at around 12 million at the beginning of the national campaign to combat HCV. While the drug will still cost $900 for a 12-week course of treatment, that is a fraction of $84,000 charged for a course of treatment in the United States. The high price tag even inside the USA promoted questions from U.S. lawmakers after U.S. health insurance said they were seeking help from state health officials to foot the bill. Doctors and industry analysts believe that the new drugs will transform HCV treatment and prove hugely profitable. In the developed world, they are tipped to become major blockbusters, with the consensus sales forecasts for the prescription drug standing at $9.1 billion in 2017, according to the international press reports. But the risk of a gulf in access between patients in the rich and poor parts of the world is causing alarm among health campaigners who warn of a potential rerun of the battle over HIV drug in Africa more than a decade ago. The Egyptian government's commitment is clear, and there have been several signs that progress is being made. On April 2016, an Egyptian pharmaceutical company made the news after it signed an agreement covering clinical testing and a scale-up of a new treatment of hepatitis C, costing less than $300 on boasting 100% cure rate. The drug was tested the most efficient with the genotype 4, which makes up 92% of HCV cases in Egypt. The company then made further developments, thus delivering the same results with other genotypes and serve the whole world. In a report, WHO said that in 2015, about 170,000 Egyptians received the treatment during the period between January and September 2016. The number of people getting the treatment exceeded 500,000. During her visit to Cairo in October 2016, Director General Margaret Chan recognized Egypt's efforts in the treatment of hepatitis C.
Welcome back. A couple of years ago, Egypt started distributing the drug for treating the hepatitis C, and nowhere was the problem more acute than in Egypt, which has the world's highest prevalence of the virus. Actually, like HIV, hepatitis C, HCV can spread through the blood, often via contaminated needles. And the World Health Organization estimates that more than 150 million people worldwide are chronically infected, most of them in developing countries, putting them at risk of liver cancer. Various pharmaceutical companies actually around the world are also developing oral treatment regimens for HCV that have shown dramatic results in clinical trials, while reducing the need for debilitating injections. On April 2016, an Egyptian pharmaceutical company made the news after it signed an agreement covering clinical testing and a scale-up of a new treatment for hepatitis C, HCV, costing less than $300 when boasting a 100% cure rate. And the drug was tested and most efficient with genotype 4, which makes up 92% of the HCV cases in Egypt. And the company then made further developments, thus delivering the same results with other genotypes and serve the whole world. And actually, we'll be talking further the development of this fatal virus here in Egypt, this great news, and also the campaign that Egypt is hosting in this regard with our guest today, Dr. Muhammad Mabrouk. He is pharmaceutical industry expert. Good afternoon to you, sir. Good afternoon. Now, let's start. Where did Egypt stand on HCV prevalence among other world nations, and how was it? How was the impact back when it started?
Yeah, since the discovery of hepatitis C in the 70s of last century, and after that, the big debates in Egypt in the 80s of last century regarding to the percentage of Egyptians that having this disease. And Egypt, from this date, are fighting and struggling for having the treatment of hepatitis C. We started here in Egypt all the treatment launched for hepatitis C from the 80s of last century till the launch of the new drug of hepatitis C that already launched by the end of 2014. It was sofosbuvir. It was the breakthrough for treatment of hepatitis C. Before that, the patients suffered from taking so many drugs and the treatment for hepatitis C without good results. It was around 20% or less than that. And also
they were all experimental, I believe. The
yeah,
yellow pill
just like,
and the injections.
Yeah, it started with what's called the standard interferon. It has been used for a long time, and it was very painful and having so many side effects for patients.
And very expensive too.
Yeah, and very expensive.
And it was also very exhausting to the patient because the patients would take it one day on and one day off.
Yes,
and,
you have a good experience in this.
I do, unfortunately. And, and on that day off, they would lie all day in bed. Unable to even move because of the side effects of the interferon.
Exactly.
And then they would have to go through it again the next day. So it was an ongoing drama for the patient.
and in 2000s, there is another discovery for a new treatment. It was also injection, but weekly injection. It was pegylated interferon. It has to be taken once per week, and also had the same side effects, and it was affecting the patient very badly. Patient had a hope by the end of 2014, and also, you know, Egypt has a good hand or a big help in this disease, as the inventor of this drug was an Egyptian man.
This is an information from me.
Yes, his father was Egyptian. He was from Alexandria, and he traveled to USA, and he said that his uncle suffered from hepatitis C, and whose aim all over his life is to invent a therapy for hepatitis C, and he succeeded to reach this molecule, which called sofosbuvir. And by the end of 2014, this product already launched in USA and Europe, but unfortunately, its price was very, very expensive.
Very expensive.
Yes, it was around 28,000 USD per one pack, and the patient must take three packs at least, and might be increased to be 6 packs for one dose regimen. Here in Egypt, the Egyptian government, represented in the Ministry of Health and the National Committee of Combating of Virus C, negotiating with that company to have this product in Egypt with a good price. And they succeeded to gain this product to Egypt in 1% from its price, its worldwide price. We already imported this product, and it was present in the Ministry of Health centers and hospitals, and offered the patient this treatment. After that, the Egyptian government, represented in the Ministry of Health, gave the opportunity to the national companies to produce and to manufacture a generic of this product.
Yes.
Now around 20 companies in Egypt are producing the same product with the same quality for the patient. With I told you that its price was 28,000 per one pack.
Yes.
Now the total course it costs around $200 only. $200 total course.
That's a significant decrease.
Yeah,
Dr.
very significant.
Okay. Well, we have with us now over the phone Dr. Ahmed Abu Madia, Professor of Hepatitis C virus. Good afternoon to you, Doctor.
Yes. Thank you for my invitation to your very famous program.
The pleasure is ours, doctor. Now, I was talking to Dr. Mabrouk now, and he told me how the drug, the price of the drug was reduced significantly from $28,000 per pack to around 200 for the whole course. Now, Egypt is putting itself now on the map of medical treatment, especially when it comes to the treatment of hepatitis C. What's your take in this regard, sir?
The exact situation today is that this drug is very effective, and for the first time since more than 50 years, the problem of virus C had been solved in our country. Our citizens had been victims for this disease for more than 100 years or more. This drug had been produced, some catastrophic medical problems, and it costs too much for the treatment for the patients and for our nation and for the health authorities in our country. Now, since 1 year or less than 1 year, this problem had been solved, and more than 99% of the patients had been treated, and they are cured, and there is no virus C within the next 5 years in our country.
Yes.
And this problem will be solved by the recent drugs, which is the direct-acting antiviral.
Yes. Okay. Professor Ahmed Abu Madin, thank you very much, sir, for your take in this regard. And back to you, Dr. Mabrouk. Now, I want to go to the main reason behind the increase, this horrible increase in the numbers of patients suffering from hepatitis C since it was discovered in Egypt and moving on through the 90s. I think the 90s was the peak of discovering the number of patients with this virus.
Yeah, so many reasons are there. Started from the fighting of bilharziasis. There were an endemic disease in Egypt in the 50s of last century called bilharziasis, coming from bilharzia because of the Nile River, because the life cycle of bilharzia having some sort of snails, and this snails is found on the bank of the Nile River. Yes. And the Egyptians suffered from, although we have the Nile and it is a gift from God, but also the Nile gave us bilharziasis. Yes. And for fight, the government at that time were fighting bilharziasis with, you can say, a glass syringe. It's syringe which had been used for more than one patient. These syringes and the needle is used for so many patients in the same time in the schools and in the hospitals. It helped it helped for spreading of the disease. Also for blood transfusion in the hospitals, it was not analyzed before to know if it is containing hepatitis C or not.
That was because hepatitis C already, because there was no supervision on the blood banks.
No supervision, and also hepatitis C already discovered in 75 of last century. So before this date, we didn't know either the blood having hepatitis C or another diseases. So it helped using the same syringe for so many people in the same time, helped to transfer the infection. Also using the instruments and bad hygienes of some people, you can say in barbers and in dentists, using the same instruments for so many people, helped for spreading of the disease. So and also bad hygienes in houses and something like this helped for spreading of the disease. After knowing the disease, after 90s of the last century, I think hygiene came up, and now we have seen in all the dentists and barbers using disposable instruments and using precautions for prevention of the infection. This is the cause of the high prevalence of hepatitis C in Egypt last century. Okay. Now, since the announcing of Dr. Yassin Abdel Ghaffar in 80s of last century about the huge percentage of the Egyptian people having hepatitis C, and there is a very big debate regarding to this issue, but now we can say, he said at that time that the percentage of Egyptians having the hepatitis C, about 20%, but now it's around 5%, only 5%. And now I have a good news for you that we don't have any waiting person in the waiting list of...
That was one of the major problems, the waiting list, people waiting and actually trying to put their names on the list for receiving the medication. That was one of the major problems. And I believe also, Doctor, one of the elements that helped in the increase of the virus was the lack of awareness. And there had to be campaigns that would go hand in hand with trying to find a cure for hepatitis C.
Exactly.
The awareness campaigns, I mean, preventing the disease while also searching for a treatment for it. And that was also some sort we were lagging behind in this regard. There weren't enough campaigns, awareness campaigns. People were dealing with lack of awareness when it comes to the factors that you mentioned, the hygiene and inside the house and in hospitals and so on and so forth.
Yes, but now I think hygiene is very high in houses and also in hospitals.
Because people became aware after the high rate of the infected
after the catastrophe.
Of the catastrophe, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Also, one of the elements is that it affected the economy, sir, because the patient of the hepatitis C would suffer from fatigue.
Yes,
all day, unable to work, unable to move, unable to be productive. And the high rate of patients affected with the hepatitis C actually had an impact on the economy as well. Don't you agree?
Of course, it affected the economy and it affected the person himself and also affecting his family, because any family having some person having this disease are suffering already. And also globally it's affecting the whole economy, because we had a high prevalence of hepatitis C and they are searching for a treatment without finding this treatment, and it was very expensive at that time, so it was very affecting for the economy itself.
Okay. Now we have the new cure coming to Egypt, and we have this international campaign. And international football star Lionel Messi is coming to Egypt on Wednesday to lead this campaign. In your opinion, how this puts Egypt on the international map, and how can we invest this campaign?
Yes, we have to say that we are proud with what we already performed in Egypt for treating around 550 patients of hepatitis C. It's a very huge number of patients. We already treated 550,000 patients of hepatitis C. And now we have the treatment which is very economic, and $200 for the whole course for treating of hepatitis C, comparing to $90,000 in Europe and USA. So it's very significant. So we are inviting all patients and all people all over the world to come to Egypt to enjoy the Egyptian sun, to enjoy the Egyptian climate, and also at the same time to take the treatment of hepatitis C in the very high advanced centers of fighting and the treating of hepatitis C. And
this would be a new kind of tourism for Egypt,
of
the
course.
Medical tourism.
Yes,
this would
yes.
boost it.
And Messi will make something like this, and will invite
we'll
all.
We'll visit the historical sites as well.
Yes, yes. So Egypt now, with this breakthrough that we already did in 1.5 years, we treated around 1 million patients, and we have no waiting list for hepatitis C, while all the world are suffering from this disease, and its treatment is very expensive there. So they are welcome to come to Egypt and to enjoy the Egyptian climate, enjoy the sightseeing here. In the same time, they can take the treatment, the effective treatment, with a few time, and with a very clever professors of hepatitis C, hepatologists, and in a very advanced and high advanced centers of treatment of hepatitis C.
Yes. Dr. Mabrouk, you are a pharmaceutical expert, CEO of a famous pharmaceutical company, and therefore I would like to ask you about the impact of this breakthrough on the pharmaceutical industry here in Egypt.
Yeah, when I traveled to so many destinations, last time I were in India, and they were shocked when they knew that Egypt already has treated around 1 million patients of hepatitis C, because they are suffering from the same disease there. They have around 30 million patients of hepatitis C, and also a very economic price for their product fighting hepatitis C, but not like us. So we now Egypt is only and the first country that treating all this amount, all this number of patients in this time. So this is, it can be added to Guinness record, by the way. So it's a breakthrough. So many countries, having envy for us that we already succeeded to treat all this number of patients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Mohammed Mabrouk, pharmaceutical expert, thank you very much, sir, and thank you for the all good news you told us. Thank you very much for being with us in Cairo Local Time.
Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in this edition of Cairo Local Time. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi signing off.